G'day listeners and welcome back to another episode of the Keeper League podcast. We're the AFL fantasy podcast that doesn't talk about the superstars. We only talk about the lesser knowns and the players who are going to bring value to your draft and Keeper League teams. My name's Heff and this week I am joined by a very special guest, Tom Wyman. How you going?
Good, thanks mate. Nice to be here again.
Probably the last one for the season. How's your year gone? You've been playing much fantasy this year or just watching bulk footy?
I've just been watching so much footy, like not just AFL, probably a little bit more sample than I would normally watch as well. So, yeah, it's been a long season, but I am super pumped for finals.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it should be a good time for the finals. I still don't really know what's going to happen with all of the matchups and stuff like that. Like coming into the final round, it's pretty crazy.
Nah,
Sydney are going to finish top, and that's pretty much it.
Probably Sydney. I think is Port locked into top four.
Top four now, yeah.
But other than that, it's anyone's guess.
Yeah.
Seriously, like the ladder predictor, I've been doing it every day. I reckon, and come up with like a different top 8 or different top 4. So
yeah, I had it locked in a few weeks ago. Port are playing Brisbane in Brisbane, week 1 of finals. This is definitely happening.
Yeah, and now Brisbane probably can't get top 4.
Yeah, so
I mean, it's just a crazy year. Exactly what the AFL would have wanted, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. Well, yeah, we're speaking about fantasy here though, but got some big news.
Yep.
My team, the Big Hoofers, is back into the grand final for the first time since 2018.
Okay, yeah.
In the Keeper League grand final in our league. So my team finished third, second highest scoring team overall, but just had some bad luck with some matchups.
With some head-to-heads.
Yeah, second by a long way as well. But finished third. And then, teams that finished 1 and 2 didn't make the grand final, and teams 3 and 4 made the grand final.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's the first time ever in league history that's happened. Actually, only one team has ever made it from outside of the top 2 in league history.
You'd be spewing if you
truly,
finish.
By the way.
If you finish 1, and you'd be spewing.
Yeah. So and the guy finished 1. I feel sorry for him because his team is
by
so
a fair
good.
Way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his team was so good. It just had a shit week, and it's over. You know.
I mean, that can happen, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's
sort of happened in the AFL as well.
Yeah, definitely. So anyway, that's it. And I'm in the grand final and playing old mate Timmy Scroat has been brought up on the podcast. We refuse to say his real name because he's just a dog of a bloke. No, it's only because he's won every grand final in our league, so we just refuse to actually mention him. Okay. So I'm playing against the guy who wins every year. So the thing is, I don't know if our league actually wants, it's the worst outcome for the league because they don't want Timmy to win another one.
Yeah,
but they don't want me to win it also because I'm just a pain in the ass in the group chat. So it's going to be an interesting one. I don't think anyone's going to turn up to the pub except for me and Timmy watching the game this week. So usually we have a bit of a session on the Sunday afterwards. But anyway,
the last game sort of thing.
That's it. Yeah. On the Sunday after. It's going to be a good one actually with the Port Freo.
Yeah, it's actually going to have meaning. So well, maybe I think Freo need a few results to go their way still, but
highly encourage all the leagues out there to have a bit of a draft party on the Sunday
definitely.
If you do it,
wrap up the season.
That's it. If you do it, send some photos through. Send some photos of your trophies through, all that sort of stuff. Or your mates at the pub.
Maybe a punishment for finishing last.
That's a good one actually. We had I talked about this on the podcast the other week. Punishment for the work league is you have to rock up to work and teach for a whole day wearing full kit. Shorts, socks pulled up, mouth guard in.
Oh no, mouth guard, wow.
Yeah, you can take it out when you're talking.
Yeah,
chuck it in your sock. But yeah, that's the
depends what age you're teaching. I mean, the year 1s might get around it.
No, we got 7s to 12. So
that's not good.
Should be pretty funny. But anyways, we'll wrap up the second to last round in a minute. But we'll spin the wheel and we'll thank Game Day Squad for supporting us this season. Also, huge sponsors of this show and many things that we have done this year wouldn't be possible without them. So thank you to Game Day Squad. Having a look at the wheel here, Gehrig of Riviera is the winning team. So well done to Gehrig of Riviera. If this team's yours, send me a DM on one of the socials. I'll confirm your identity and then I'll send you a pack through. So well done there. All right. The only other thing to mention before we get stuck into the round review is membership stuff. So we've read out all the gold members so far, but if you want to support the podcast, please sign up. There's a link in the description below usually. If not, this week there's one on the website. If you want to support this podcast, keep it going into the future, your support would be greatly appreciated. So please sign up, support the show, because this is a member-funded podcast, and that's how we survive going forward. Anyways, let's get on to the round review. Archie Roberts, is he a junior that you tracked a bit last season, or what's
a little bit. It was always just his skills have always been good as like a half back, but he's just so small coming through. So I think that was always the knock on him. But it's good to see him getting a couple of games together, and he's actually been really good.
Yeah.
Essendon haven't been great, but he's been probably a bright spot, I think, for them. And he's probably playing sort of what Heppel used to play across half back. Is that right?
Yeah.
Sort of pushing up more wing.
Yeah. No,
But he's a good user.
Wing, yeah.
Yeah. So I think no problems with him starting round 1 next year. He looks like a good prospect.
I thought he was like a quality over quantity type guy, like not really a fantasy player, but he's got.
I think he's got a bit both.
Yeah, 2 good scores now in the seniors. It's just that like there's no Ridley at the moment, no Dersmar as well, so that kind of there's an outside spot there for him. Be interesting to see if he's in the mix with everyone in the side. On that kind of note, what do you think Essendon are going to do this week? Like, and what do you think we'll see? Do you think we'll see guys like Sardis back in the ones and they mix it up now that the season's over? Or
I think you have to.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's not much point bringing Heppel in, even though it would be a nice farewell game. I think he said his goodbyes now, and there's no chance he's coming back. So I'm not really sure what they do. It's just such a disappointing season for Essendon. But yeah, Sardis needs to be getting games. He had a lot of touches on the weekend, I saw.
If you were Dyson Heppel, would you want to fly up to Brisbane this week?
Probably not.
Nah, fuck
Definitely
that.
not. I think he said his goodbyes now anyway. So I mean, he's done, but decent servant for the club, I guess. But you'd be spewing if you're an Essendon supporter with that sort of end to the season.
Yeah, I just want to see him with Sardis on the side. I want to see him give Archie Perkins a full game in the midfield, like round 1 where he had that huge score. Like I'd love to see just a few things like that happen.
He's had a disappointing year, hasn't he, Archie Perkins?
Just Shield
So
came
frustrating.
in and just killed it. Pretty much. And Jai Caldwell kind of stepped up a fair bit as well. They're kind of playing similar roles.
He definitely stepped up.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so a few things didn't go his way. It'd be interesting to see what happens with him in the off season. But anyway, onto the Sydney side of things. Braden Campbell had 89 points. He's had a new role in the last few weeks. Did you watch this game on Friday?
Yeah, I did. I almost fell asleep, but yeah, made it through. I really like Campbell as a player. I always sort of have. He was in that draft with Goulden, and he got picked way before Goulden.
Yeah, it was pick 5 or something.
I think it was pick 5, both like academy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Campbell went I think 5, and Goulden slid way down.
Well, what did you think of his new half forward role?
I like it because he's such a good user of the footy. It's sort of someone that you can play just about anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's probably more outside type. But I love it when he kicks the footy. It's so nice.
The 89 points, I think, is a bit of an outlier in this game. Kicked 2 goals.
A couple of goals.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're not going to see that too often. They do play the Crows in Sydney this weekend.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure if he's actually someone I'd feel safe streaming in my defence over the likes of D'Ambrosio, Bergman.
Yeah, that's right. And I reckon
Burgoyne.
Campbell's sort of, I don't know, he always just strikes me as someone that they could use as a sub.
Yeah, 100%. Do you think Parker's still a sub risk on that note? Because he kind of changed things around when he went into this week though, I mean.
It's hard to say, to be honest.
Yeah.
I prefer. I still think he's best 22.
Yeah, 100%.
But
he just flipped the game when he went into the midfield.
Yeah,
on the weekend.
and I think he can also go forward. He's always been able to go forward and have an impact there.
Yeah,
even in his prime. So
it just feels weird. Tim, I think the week before they had Cleary or someone young, or maybe it was Warner's brother, Corey
Warner.
Yeah, something like that, and they had Parker
was that
on the
against
bench.
Port?
Maybe, yeah. Then they just had him on the bench. It just seemed
got
weird,
subbed out.
Yeah. But anyway, moving on to the next game, Gold Coast versus Melbourne. Sam Closey, 86 points. I think it's just more evidence that he could be one of the better fantasy wingers. 2 good scores in a row now. Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's had a really good year, actually.
Yeah.
He's a good find for Gold Coast.
Yeah, being that mature age, slightly mature age type. But playing on the wing is probably not the most fruitful thing for fantasy, but I reckn he's got the potential to be one of the better ones.
100%. Yeah, he's had a very, very good year. Like I said, good find. That's for sure.
One of your new mates, Alex Neil-Bullen, apparently, 95 points. Does he go to the Crows, do you reckon?
To be honest, I have no idea. I think there is room for him at the Crows, though.
Yeah.
It's frustrating that he's sort of on the way out of his career. I think he's going to be 29 next year, so by the time the Crows are contending, if they even end up contending, that's another question. I don't think he'll be around, but he does. We do need. And from the Crows' perspective, we do need that sort of type of leadership. I think it showed on the weekend there was just no leadership out there after the hit. And I think Neil-Bullen provides that. And I also think he plays a role that does sort of fill a need for us as that high half forward. Murphy's playing at the moment, and he's not one of my favourite players.
Does he get any of the midfield time that he's getting at Melbourne at the moment at the Crows, do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think he does get some midfield minutes. I wouldn't want to see it at the expense of Curtin, Saligo, Taylor, that sort of thing.
But maybe push like a
think
lead halfback or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see Laird back in the midfield.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just wishful thinking.
Does Crouch go on next year?
Yeah, Crouch has had a good year.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with Crouch at all.
Yeah.
I think he does fit into that side straight away if he does end up coming to the Crows.
So he might be one worth picking up now, like on the cheap, I guess, with forward status.
Before you sort of find out where he's going. Yeah. I don't know. Is Port interested, I assume?
I think like he fits this. Like I don't think we have any problems like going for a more mature age person. He probably fits our profile a bit better, but I think the Crows has said that. I think Port have said they don't really have a lot of interest. Okay. So yeah,
fair enough. Then.
Not really sure though.
I guess they've got Pau Pepper coming back in.
That's it. They play the exact same role really. Blake Howes, the next one, 95 points, just a tip of the cap. Took a heap of marks in defence there. Pretty much the same with Marty Hoare, who had 87 points. It's tip of the cap there. It was only his 5th game of the season. He's probably just not in their best 22 when he's at full strength. But Colton Tholstrup though, 86 points. What's your take on his first season?
It's been patchy, I think, but like it's probably pretty hard to impact in the type of role he's playing, like for a long period of time or sustained period of time. But I see him definitely as an impact player, as you got here. I think he's more of a quality possession than a quantity.
Yeah.
I think he hits the ball really hard at pace, and so I think. I think there's a role for him in that midfield, especially if they end up losing, a couple of big players, which I'm not sure they will, but I think, they definitely see him as a long-term midfielder because he was a high pick for a reason.
Yeah.
Not sure about fantasy though.
He's the type of player,
at least.
He's the type of player that I just see like he'll have mid-forward status for a long time.
Yep.
And with all the players that lose forward status each year type thing, he could be some guy who one day averages like 80 per season,
I can see
with that
yeah.
mid-forward status. So just one to think of for the future. Jake Bowie's been quite good in the recent weeks. I think he came back into the side this week, but we've had Trent Rivers go in the midfield. We've seen Judd McVie now have a bit of a run in the midfield.
And they both look pretty good in there as well, especially Rivers.
And again, you mentioned Petrarca, perhaps Oliver as well. Maybe even Viney, like the big
true.
Kind of gone.
Far out.
He didn't squash any rumours on the weekend about leaving, and there's talk of him going to North Melbourne.
Yeah, the old man's there as a footy boss or something like that.
So and they're crying out for some senior leaders in that midfield. I think he's the perfect fit for them. So yeah, Jake Bowie. So we probably see those two, Rivers and McVie, spending a bit more time in the midfield. So Bowie could be the kind of halfback distributor next season. Salem's there, I guess, as well, but he's sometimes going in the midfield as well. I guess there's a watch and see though with Houston because there was talk of him going there and now potentially not. And
I mean, I'm not sure about it, but surely the hit isn't the reason you wouldn't take him.
No, I think it's more so that he doesn't want to go to Melbourne with all the issues.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's other suitors.
Hard to argue with that.
Yeah.
From his perspective, but
I think he was going there thinking. I think his intention was they're going to be like a bit of a contender. Type thing, and now everyone's kind of dropping off. So he's like, maybe I don't go to Melbourne.
Is it more him wanting to go? I
think he wants to go to Victoria more than anything.
Pushing him out the door a bit.
No, Port.
Okay,
Port. He's like still got heaps of his contract.
There's a fair bit of rumours about that.
I think there's a few bits and pieces. So like, I think Port are more than happy to keep him, but he wants to go back to Melbourne. At the same time, Port are more than happy to get back into the draft this season.
And they're not afraid to offload players at
like at
close
the end of the day,
peak, Wingard, that sort of type.
At the end of the day, these halfback flankers, like yes, he's a good user of the footy and all that sort of stuff, but they're pretty easily replaceable.
You can,
I find.
I mean, first year players, Sheasel, Dacos, they've come in and I mean they're high end, but
especially if you're going to get someone like from GWS, what's his name again? Perryman
or Cumming.
Exactly, those type of two.
Yep.
Like it's not that much of a step down.
No, it's not, and it's like you said, they've got Farrell there. I mean, could Farrell play that role?
Just needs to polish up the boot a little bit, but he definitely could play that role for sure. Anyways, interesting food for thought there. Bowie could be a player in that half-back line for Melbourne next season if things go his way. GWS Giants on to versus the Fremantle Dockers. Just a Brent Daniels appreciation post.
Yeah, how good
171 points. We've been speaking his name for like 5 years, I reckon, and it's just finally seen. Like I know he got too good for the podcast ages ago. But he put up the second highest score of the season with 171 points.
As a small forward, that is a ridiculous feat.
I guarantee there was no other fantasy podcast talking about him before us.
Yeah, right. We were first, but far out. He is so good. Him and Dylan Moore, just absolutely, the best small forwards in the comp probably at the moment. And they push so far up the ground, but work back and amazing game. I couldn't believe it when I looked down at the stat sheet and he's on.
Has he got the potential to be like one of the top 5 forwards for next season?
100% he does.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think so.
Yeah,
no reason why not. Because he pushes up in the midfield.
Yeah, he gets a few CBAs here and there as well.
Yeah.
Don't think he did on this game, but then he had like just a heap of tackles and marks and stuff like that.
He's always had plenty of tackles.
Yeah,
so that
definitely.
alone, I think he's a good chance of averaging a fairly good score.
Anyway, enough of the too good for the podcast players. Darcy Jones, 83 points. Had no midfield time like he did the other week, but he plays and pushes up to the wings like in that kind of connector role. I think he's just a bit of a talent. You would have followed him a bit in his junior days.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, super talented. I think. Well, he had that ACL injury.
Yeah.
But obviously the Giants rate him really highly. He's just super small.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the only thing that stopped him from going a bit higher in the draft. But I'm not sure. Was he still a first rounder?
I cannot remember.
I can't remember. I think he was relatively high up in the draft. Not top 10 or anything, but he's such a talent. Ever since he's come in, I'm pretty sure he had a decent impact on debut as well.
Yeah, he kicked a few goals.
It's not hard to miss him on the field with a helmet.
Yeah,
they've just found another good small forward, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, the type that can play a bit further up as well.
Yeah, sort of on a wing.
It's just he's so tiny.
He is tiny. It's hard to see him getting any inside minutes.
Yeah, exactly. What about Freo? What do you think is going to happen this week?
I mean,
to make finals, do you think?
I'd like to see Freo in the finals because I think I actually really like their side. They're very talented. But
when you look at their list, man,
it's a good list.
Jai Amos, Tracy,
I think it's a really good
you've
list.
got Pierce, you've got Luke Ryan. You've got a proper spine.
Absolutely. And what about
Cox
the midfield?
as well. Then the midfield, obviously, as well.
Sarong, Rachel, Young. I mean, they're all top 10 picks.
Yeah, there should be. Maybe you can give them a bit of a pass this year for being a bit younger, and I don't know, but that team should be playing finals.
And they've missed Pierce for probably the crucial games.
That's probably a fair
point.
point.
And on the weekend, Pierce definitely helps. So I mean, it's frustrating for Freo because they had it they almost had top 4 sewn up. But
anyway, must win this week against Port.
Win.
But then Port need to win to secure second and 2 home
I think
finals.
Freo needs something else to go their way as well.
Yeah,
I think that they.
Carlton to lose and something like that as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think, Giants to beat the Dogs maybe.
Yeah, that's probably it too. Oh, God, it's disappointing for them.
Yeah.
Anyways, James Peatling, 30 points. We talked about this with Canelio coming back into the side, and it didn't help that Freo just paid Canelio no attention either. If they would have shut him down, maybe they would have tried to do more with Peatling. But, just a bit disappointing there. Canelio did look pretty sore throughout this game.
I reckon he's looked pretty sore for a lot of the year, to be quite honest.
So they might rest him again this week and give him 2 weeks off. So just monitor what happens there with Peatling. But basically, every time Canelio comes in the side, he's cooked. So, and it doesn't make much sense because he was playing so well and doing all the contested things right. But
yeah, absolutely, he was brilliant a couple of weeks ago. It's very frustrating for him.
On to Collingwood versus Brisbane Lions. I didn't see a heap of this one. I was at the casino before the game. Actually bumped into a listener at the casino. Said g'day. So thanks to I can't remember his name, but thank you for turning up and saying g'day. It was nice to talk to a few listeners out there and get some feedback on the show. So yeah, thank you. Anyway, Lockie Schultz, the first one I'll talk about. 82 points. Probably the best game for Collingwood.
Definitely,
I think. I still wouldn't be touching him in fantasy though, would you?
Nah, probably not. Not at this point. But I think it was definitely his best game on the weekend. Yeah. Really stood up.
Bit too much of an impact type player, but
I still think that trade will work out well for Collingwood.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's just that they've got 2 other good small forwards, and it just means there's less for him to do there. Jasper Fletcher is the other one in this game. 84 points. I think we talked about him even when you were on the show last time.
Definitely have.
I just think he's got the potential to be one of the better wingmen, and I keep saying it. I think this week he's a potential. I should have had him in the waivers. Potential stream option this week as well because Berry did a hamstring, I think. Yeah. So he should just have a wing to himself all game.
I think he's like you said. I agree with you. He's going to be a brilliant wingman. Yeah, already is.
Onto the showdown. We won't talk about this too much, mate, because I know you're feeling it right now. You're a bit upset about this one. But even though you got nothing to play for, and it probably works out better that you get a better draft pick and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
but,
it does.
I know the pride of beating Port Adelaide is there. How'd you take Rochelle with the comments of all teeth? Do you think Rochelle realises that dentures don't count as actual teeth?
I don't know. Actually, yeah.
A few Crow supporters with the dentures in, I reckon.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But honestly, I see it as a bit of fun. Obviously, my team's not the one being attacked. Well, not really attack, is it? But it's a bit of fun.
Yeah.
I think it adds to it. The showdown's such a good spectacle. I mean, it's easy for us to say as fans of the both sides, but I think it's one of the best games in footy. Mark it down the calendar every single year.
It's the best rivalry in the country.
I think it is. Yeah, I seriously think it is. We're probably a bit biased, but it's a brilliant game. No matter, like as you said, Crows had pretty well nothing to play for, and I think we still played all right.
Yeah, you're fine.
Just outclassed in the end, obviously, but yeah.
Pretty funny. We'll talk about this with Andy Munro on Twitter. Basically, every time someone speaks out before the game, the team tends to lose.
It's happened to Port the last couple of times.
We're saying how much we hate you guys and how good it is going to be to beat you and stuff.
Burton comes out with how much he hates them.
Yeah. Then they get pumped, and then Rochelle comes out with the no teeth, and then. But yeah, I agree.
think it adds to it. I don't mind Burton saying that.
It's fine.
And I don't mind Rochelle saying. I think it's just good.
It's fine.
It's not the reason they lost.
I just reckon, it just jinxes you when you do speak out. That's all. But I have no problem with it. There's no real players to talk about this. Like, just a good win for the Power, really. Mitch Hinge, though, does he hold this role next year in the scoring output going forward? And I guess the other thing for the Crows, we talked about this a bit before with Neil Bullen, but what does their midfield look like next year? We touched on that. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it was one of Hinge's better games on the weekend.
Yeah.
And I probably, from a Crows perspective, definitely prefer him at half back.
Yeah.
But we still are really in desperate need of another winger. At time, you got Scholl on one wing. He's had a pretty good year.
Yeah, and you've been playing Saligo there, but you don't want him. You want him to go back in the midfield.
No, Saligo's really good in tight, and so is Taylor, Jack Taylor.
Yeah.
They're quite good in tight, and Dowling's been one that's sort of played on a wing at times as well.
Yeah.
But I think ideally you have Crouch as that sort of in and under type, and then a mix of Saligo, Rankin, Dawson, although I'd prefer him on the outside as well, and probably Curtin as more of a floating type, and then pick 4 I think has to be used on a midfielder
and just plumb straight in.
And I think you just have to. It's not a Crows thing to do, particularly with midfielders, but I just think it has to be, whether it's O'Sullivan, Draper, Laylor, Smiley, Smith. There's really like 6 names which, you could see the Crows drafting.
Yeah.
I think that's the sort of mix, and it's a lot more dynamic than what it used to be, but it's still a way off, I think.
Yeah, it's got probably a bit of work to do, but it's just going to be interesting. It might create some opportunity for some fantasy scorers next season. I do have a gold member actually here to read out. Josh Hart, thank you for re-signing up as a gold member this week. That was the only one that came through, so thank you to him. Moving on to the St Kilda versus Geelong game. Didn't see a second of this one, given that I was at the showdown.
Neither did I.
Darcy Wilson, though, had 100 points. I think this just shows he's going to be a gun. Do you have any issues with him being more of an outside type, or do you think he can just rack him?
Absolutely not. He is a gun. I think someone in the media said it. I can't remember who it was, but I think they said he was going to be a 350 gamer or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
I'd agree with that, to be honest. He's just going to be a gun. His running's already up to speed with the game, and I just think he's only going to get better.
Yeah.
He's a gun pick.
Agree.
Crows really wanted him as well, actually.
Yeah, really.
Draft, so yeah.
Yeah, unlucky not to land him. Tip of the cap to Jack Higgins, 94 points with 3 goals there. Lawson Humphries, another draftee from last year, 94 points. I think he's been a bit inconsistent early, but he has all the tools to be a good fantasy scorer. I was just looking at some underage stuff and a bit of like my write-up I did on him last year. Like, scored well in the Waffle reserves last year, and I think because you always look at the senior numbers as a youngster type thing.
Yeah, it's like a benchmark type.
Yeah. But he's actually put up good fantasy numbers in the reserves. Yeah. He played in midfield in that role too, so he's off the halfback flank, kind of learning a new role, kind of just getting used to the seniors. Like you wear the inconsistencies with the potential he's got in the future. Yeah,
I think he's going to be a gun.
Yeah,
I've just found another one from pretty obscure.
Plucked another one out there.
So
they love the waffle guys.
They're too good, Geelong.
Then speaking of guys they plucked out, Sean Manor as well, 83 points. Do you think he impacts the Brian Myers? Even Brad Close used to be a pretty handy scorer from time to time. If he's in that forward line long term, do you think he impacts those guys?
I think he has to.
Yeah. And he's going to stay there, isn't he?
I think he's going to stay there. He's class. I'm not sure his age. I know he's mature age.
I think he's mid to late 20s.
Mid-20s, yeah, right. So it just reminds me of Sam Menegola. I don't know why, but...
Well, mature age, you're going to Geelong. That's probably why.
I guess so. But
he's 27 years old.
Yeah. It's just... You know, I think how many did he kick in the grand final of the VFL last year? He kicked
a few, and then it was like
5 or 6 or something.
and then it was like 30 touches as well from the midfield or something.
Ridiculous game, and they didn't even win.
Yeah,
so
what a goal.
yeah, I mean, he's just needed a decent crack at it. I think he's going to be a good player.
I agree. I think it's a bit of a worry if you are a Myers owner because I think he could be going backwards with him on the side. That's all.
I don't think Manna's going to find himself outside for in the near future. That's for sure.
Under the Bulldogs North Melbourne game on the Sunday, Sam Darcy 133 points. He's too good for the podcast, but what a talent! Like, he just can do so many things. Like go on the ruck, take marks around the ground, go forward, kick goals. Like, he's just awesome. He kicked 1-5 last week.
Yeah, I was going to say that he absolutely killed the Crows last week, but probably didn't. Well, he didn't kick well at all. He kicked really poorly, but you know. You flip that around. If he did kick accurately against the Crows, he would have had 12 goals in 2 weeks.
Yeah, 100%.
Quite easily.
Yeah.
Freakish talent.
He'd be spewing he got rubbed out because he should be the rising star winner.
He should be. He absolutely should be.
Even if he
Harley
didn't...
Reid's had pretty good years.
Well, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was going to ask. If neither of those guys got rubbed out, who do you think takes it out? Reid's got the celebrity factor.
Yeah.
And because it's a selection, I think he probably gets it. But
I think Reid... But
I think pound for pound on performances, Darcy's very close.
Darcy's playing a
much harder role.
A much harder role. Yeah. And he's flying with Norton and Jamara as well.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just brilliant.
Yeah.
He's going to be the best of those three, I think.
The other one was Joel Frazier, 115 points. He played on the halfback this week and racked him up. I think he's listed as a forward in fantasy, which is pretty handy. Like pretty promising considering Richards is a midfielder these days. But they do have a few like him on that halfback line. Lockie Bramble is the one they recruited this year. Bailey Dale's another one who goes back there. I think they do have a spot for him in the future. How do you think he goes at Mars this weekend? It's a pretty
I don't know. I wouldn't want to play at Mars.
Yeah. No. Like everyone seems like it seems to be a fantasy wasteland. Mars.
Yeah, no, Mars sucks. The Crows have had to go there a few times. I can't stand watching footy there.
Yeah, no, I'd be worried about any dogs.
I'm not a fan.
I'd be worried about any dogs at Mars this weekend.
Or any player that plays there, to be honest.
Yeah.
I like Frazier as a player.
Yeah, if he plays a halfback role, he's definitely got the tools to score pretty well. It's just one to monitor over the preseason and stuff like that. If he's looking like playing there, Rory Lobb as well, 85 points, was always going to get that bump with English out because he was the number one ruck in this one with Darcy playing forward. He was pretty sore after this one. I don't think he came on after halfway through the last quarter. So
he was cooked after that. And they didn't really need him out there. The game was sort of dead. But
be interesting to see if he plays this week. If English plays, I think he definitely does. But if he's a bit sore, I don't know. Like he should be playing. Obviously, they need him to make finals. But and he's another one that I just don't back down in at Mars Stadium either. And then Jack McRae, 80 points and 38% time on ground. Like kicked 2 goals, just was everywhere. Playing against North, but. Do they start him this week in a must-win clash, or is he a sub-risk again?
I mean, I would start him, but if Bevo...
starting people like Gallagher and all that sort of stuff like ahead of him?
I think it's ridiculous. McRae is an absolute gun. And, I mean, 80 points and 38% time around is pretty ridiculous.
And they subbed out Riley West in that same role, like that half-forward role. I know McRae pushed up a lot further on the ground and just kind of got involved on the link-up, but still started forward, kicked more goals than West as well. Like, surely you start McRae over West.
Oh, you have to. Yeah. I think it's easy.
I'm only saying that because I've got him in my team for the grand final this week. Right. And we got lockout, so I'm either locking in a sub or...
But no, seriously, you got to play with McRae, especially in a must-win game. You just got to back players like that in. He's played finals. He's
killing in the VFL too. And he's won flag.
He's not a VFL player.
Like he's so much like a class above back there.
He is, absolutely so.
Yeah. Hopefully he plays this weekend. I'm going to put him on field and just hopefully he doesn't be a sub come Sunday.
Oh.
Well, I've got no one else. I've got Cozzy Pickett. I've got Archie Perkins. It's like I'll probably end up playing Cozzy Pickett.
Oh, you have to play him.
But Archie Perkins could be the sub as well. Pickett had a shit week last week, but I think he bounces back.
Actually, of you.
Yeah, it's tricky. On to the Hawthorn versus Richmond game. Jeez, what a crazy game this was.
Yeah.
Jack Gunston not going near it. Tip of the cap, 102 points, 5 goals, but he's just too old for your fantasy types. Yeah. The only other one I really looked at in this game was Cam McKenzie had 60 points. Had the midfield time still, though, which I think is super promising. He did cop a knock, and I think he missed 20 minutes with a bloody concussion assessment as well, which is pretty annoying. But, I think Cam McKenzie, do you think he ends up in the midfield long term?
Yeah, he definitely does. And I think maybe even short term as well. I think Will Day's probably going to miss a couple of weeks.
Well, apparently he's escaped any bone break.
So he hasn't broken anything, but I think maybe
they won't risk him. They'll win this week. Who are they
Yeah.
playing? They got an easy game, don't they? I think it's someone he's very, very beatable for them. 'Cause I remember
They got North,
North
in Tassie, so they shouldn't lose that.
Yeah.
So I think Mackenzie takes bulk of his minutes, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Well, Tigers suck anyway, so just stream players against them. No one to talk about. On to the last game of the round, West Coast versus Carlton. Andrew Gaff, well done to anyone who streamed him this week. It probably made sense because I think it was his last game. He's not going to play this week.
Yeah, that was I'm not actually sure. I think I chaired off. I think he's done.
Yeah, they just in front of the home
he's
crowd.
done.
Yeah, so like these retirement games are always we probably should have mentioned on the podcast last week. I think it only came out a bit later on, but yeah, they always go pretty big.
It's like the Kennedy factor for West Coast. I remember he played against the Crows, kicked 8 or something. So.
Always. So
he won him a game.
Well done to those who played him. Bailey Williams, 88 points against Pitnet, and he actually won the hit outs, and he just took some good marks around the ground and stuff like that. So, and they're not playing Flynn as well.
No,
with him. So it's probably good signs for he just looks like a decent fantasy ruckman. That's all. When he looks like an athletic type.
He's very athletic.
Yeah.
No
so
about that.
That's another one that I like. Onto the Carlton side of things. This was really interesting because so many people in different roles with all the injuries that they have. But Ollie Hollins is basically too good for the podcast now. I think he had 1 week where he scored a 79 that prevented him going 80 plus 3 weeks in a row. But plays on the wing, but kind of played that rebounding halfback, defensive winger type thing. Not really defensive, but he started a long way back type thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, look good. I'm targeting him next season because I think he'll be in the draft pool. I'd happily have him as an M7.
I think that was his best game for Carlton.
Yeah.
And he needed those blokes, guys like him probably need to stand up in that game. Well, they definitely need to stand up, and he did. So it's a good sign.
No, he's one I think can break out next year. It won't be a huge scorer, but be like a 90 plus type.
Yeah, I think
up and running.
90, 85. 90.
Yeah. Mark Pitnet, just any big dumb ruckman rucking solo generally goes okay at 95 points. And yeah, just rucking solo, so that's fine. Was it William? We talked about Williams. It is a pretty easy matchup though. When you play against him, he does give away points. And the other tip of the cap, not a tip of the cap, Brody Kemp. We love this guy because he just goes 80 plus every second or third week. But he goes forward and kicks 4 goals.
4 goals.
So
oh wow.
Yeah, but again,
that's a very good effort.
You probably don't see him there long term.
Definitely
in that
not.
role.
Well,
so yeah,
no, definitely not.
Maybe again this week though. It might be a stream.
What are they? Is Mackay or Kerno back?
I think Mackay might be. I'm not sure about Kerno, but yeah.
Kemp probably stays there.
Yeah.
Kick 4. I mean, yeah.
Probably just takes away from their defence. That's all.
Well, they do need him back there, but you can't really have 2 of him. So
yeah. All right. That's the end of the round review. We'll just get through the questions quickly. Nice, short, sharp, and shiny episode tonight. Dearly Docker asks, what is your thoughts on Libba for 2025? And would you rather have him or Xavier Dersma or Warple for that next season alone?
Oh, how old's Libba now?
I reckon he's 32.
Oh, jeez, I thought he might have even be older than that.
Yeah, my mate might be actually.
Yeah,
I'll Google it right now. Tom Libba, 32 years old.
32, okay, yeah, right.
But will be 33 by the start of next season.
Yeah.
He's a player I can see going backwards. And I can see him getting one head knock next year and retiring.
He's had a lot.
Yeah.
He would have had to have had a lot. Just the role he plays as well. Yeah. I think Warple.
You take Warple?
I'd say Warple. I really like Warple as a player, though.
I've got both in my team, Dersma and Warple. Yeah, right. And Warple has better access to scoring being that inside midfielder. Yeah. But Dersma's been good as well.
He's actually been a pretty good pickup for Essendon.
Yeah. I think if you had to, you'd take Warple 25 coming into his prime. Dersma's a bit younger, but does play as the outside type, and he won't be anything but an outside player in his career. So I think Warple's probably the guy you go with for next season. I'd probably be taking him over Libba next year. At good areas, Jay wants to know, into the big dance with the most inconsistent forwards in the comp. Who scores more out of Pickett, Billings versus Collingwood, Humphrey versus Richmond, and Fraser versus GWS? Have to play at least 2, but we'll be looping one of the Melbourne boys.
Far out, that's a tough one.
I think you can take I think you loop Billings, I reckon.
Yeah.
Sub-risk and all that sort of stuff. But Pickett was so bad last week. I think he only had 2 touches for the game.
Right.
But that was up in Queensland. Conditions slippery, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I'd start Pickett on field and then
hoping he'd bounce back.
Well, the only other options you got is Humphrey and Fraser.
Humphrey against Richmond is tempting, and Humphrey's hasn't kicked on from last year.
Yeah.
He'll be a great player, but
I just think Pickett's like that
Yeah.
70 average. He's already averaging like 70, 75 type thing, I think.
Yep.
So he
No,
should
fair
go back
enough.
to that at the MCG on a Friday night. Like,
Yeah.
surely does that. So maybe Luke Billings just in case he gets subbed. And then what do you do? Humphrey versus Rich or Freya on that halfback flank, but playing down at Mars.
yuck.
Fraser, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I hate players playing at Mars.
I'd go Fraser just because I like the
probably
role.
Fraser.
Yeah, Fraser.
yeah.
Fraser and Pickett.
His role would be the best, I'd say. Out of
Yeah,
those.
I like Humphrey versus Richmond, but he plays that forward kind of role. It's a bit icky.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's
so.
a tough role to score in consistently.
Yeah,
definitely.
All right, let's have a look at the next one. Got to drop one of Josh Ward or Erasmus. Who goes? Who would you keep?
I'd probably keep Ward, to be honest. So does he get more time now that Day's out?
Well,
we don't know Day's out, so
no, because I think like even at the start of the year when Day was still coming back,
He wasn't
was
getting-
dropped
yeah.
before that. So I'm kind of with you though, only because like we saw the first 2 seasons of Ward where he's averaged 70.
Yeah.
I think the issue is like both of them are probably just going to be wingers. That's the thing, but you've just seen more from Josh Ward as a winger so far.
Yep.
So I'll probably just go with Ward. I don't love either of them though.
No, I was going to say that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
probably Ward.
At JWS019 wants to know our thoughts on Christian Salem as a grand final play against what's been a relatively easy matchup in Collingwood. No CBA, so I guess he's been playing off the back line, but no Sparrow this week, I believe. I don't think with Salem this year, like it hasn't really mattered whether he scored as a midfielder, he scored as a halfback
Same
flanker.
sort of rate.
Yeah, like he doesn't change. Like he just has bad games and good games.
Yeah.
I don't think role factors in too much for him.
Yep.
So I'd definitely be playing him. I don't know
I
what your
think
team
so.
looks like if you've got him on your side. You must be in an 8-man league or something. If you've got those players. So yeah, I reckon I'd be playing Salem. No worries. You agree?
Yeah, probably. Although he's burnt me multiple times but that's in classic. So
Yeah.
but yeah, probably be fine.
At Mortarded, what's my opinion on the best grand final rounds? Round 23 is his opinion. Teams aren't switched off or resting. So what do you think? Wait till round 24 where teams rest players and all that sort of stuff to have your grand final, or play it the week before when things are a bit more in the balance? What would you do?
Yeah, maybe. It's a tough one. Maybe the week before, to be honest.
Yeah. I think that's probably the best time.
You've probably seen teams check out.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
Several teams.
If you're in a 10-team league, it actually works out really well if you just play each other once because that's 18 rounds.
Right.
And then because
Then you've got your
yeah, and then you play finals and you finish
So
it
you
maybe
got
2 or 3 weeks earlier.
4 weeks finals.
Yeah,
is that
do a
right?
4-week worth of finals.
So that's what. Yeah. So you finish couple of rounds.
Yeah, we finished
Yeah, it's
2
probably
weeks
the way
ago.
I'd do it.
No, we finished last week actually. So
yeah.
my dynasty one, that's the perfect way. If you're in a
Okay.
12 team, it makes it a bit trickier. But I'd still reckon round 23 is a good one. Although I do feel like less teams rest these days now that they've got the bye after the season. I don't think it's as
fair.
much of an issue as it
Yeah.
used to be. That's
For
all.
teams going to finals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last one at Bellardi. Sorry, there's 2 more to come. At Bellardi 13, currently own Marshall and Cherry in a Supercoach keeper league. I'm in a rebuilding phase. Would you trade one out or hold both? If you're trading, which one is it?
I really love Sherry. I think he's brilliant.
So we're assuming he's got in a 1 ruck league, right? So you can only put one
that's
on
tough.
field.
Far out. I just really like Sherry and what he's doing, but then Marshall probably has heaps more impact ahead of the footy, kicks his goals, and
I think we're looking at a 25-year-old versus a 27-year-old.
yeah, okay.
as well.
So Marshall's 27. Is that right?
Yeah.
Marshall's 27.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll have both for many, many years.
Yeah.
5 years probably.
If you're in a 2 ruck league, obviously you keep both.
Oh well,
But
yeah.
I don't
but
think
if you trade one,
I don't think that's the case. I would probably slightly lean towards Cherry because he's younger.
yeah. I think that's the only thing that's leaning me towards Sherry.
The only thing is like Cherry's like in all Australian form. I think he's going huge right now because he wants that all Australian really bad as well.
Right.
But we have never seen Cherry back it up. You know what I mean? Where we know Marshall is going to be a huge averaging player.
sort of year on year.
Yeah, and if you look at people like Max Gawn, who's like 33 now, like they're still going, they're still scoring well. Like I'm still Cherry, but that's my concern: is he going to back it up next season? Do you think he will?
I think he will.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably a fair argument. We sort of just don't have the runs on the board just yet. But
The
I think he will score well. I think that his game, the way he plays with his tackling and that, I think he will be a good scorer for years to come. But he's also had his injury problem. So I mean,
Yeah.
That's another thing to take into account. But
It's good to see him actually put a full season together this year, though.
Yeah, it is. Especially because I think he wanted out.
Yeah, like they just refused to trade him.
And now he's just, they, you know.
Yeah, 2 years ago he wanted out.
Was it 2 years? Yeah.
The thing with Cherry, like, and there's a few people out there that like will say some things like, this guy's going to be good for this reason, but that's not the reason why they become good, and then they still claim it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I didn't claim. I said Cherry was going to be good, but I didn't actually factor in the changes to the ruck rules as well.
Right. So
the fact that you can just come straight across the line, body the guy out, take it out of the ruck, and just get on the boot, or as a handball. Like he gets so many scores as well as his tackling through that. Like. But I just didn't factor that in. I just thought like he'd been a decent averaging player when Goldstein was out.
Yeah.
And I was just like, he'll just do the similar type things as Goldstein does, like takes a few marks around the ground and stuff like that. But no, it's that factor that I think he won't go backwards, because it's like, he's not going to stop out-bodying his opposition ruckman. He's not going to stop tackling.
That's his game.
Yeah, exactly. So like,
tackling's always been his game too. So
I can see players like English going backwards when they don't win a hit out, and if they're not 100% around the ground, they're not fully fit and stuff like that.
English,
So, but I think Cherry's one that should be pretty safe. Last question tonight. Jeremy Graham wants to know of any diamonds in the rough this week to fight the gold members' edge in my home league granny this week. PS Khan, the Cobras. There's 2 players I've got here. I just think that it's going to be a fantasy fest, the Gold Coast Richmond game, I think. Yeah. And so pick a defender from each one, because defenders are scoring like well against each other, both of these teams. So Nathan Broad.
So he's just going to slingshot between the half back lines.
I reckon.
Yeah, right.
So I think Nathan Broad or Bodie Ewlands are guys that are like really under-owned and probably will have good scores this week. So there's probably 2 diamonds in the rough.
Broad's had a pretty good year, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah,
so is Ewland actually. He's another good find for Gold Coast.
I still think they're lowly owned though in terms of draft
and
stuff like that. So yeah, maybe try to pick those guys up off the waivers if you've got that on. But anyways, that's a wrap. 40 minutes. That's a good podcast, I think. Length done there. Thanks for coming in, Tommy.
No problem at all.
Last one of the season to have you in.
No, it's been good.
We have I think Geordie on next week to wrap up the season with me as well. So listeners can stay tuned to that. But yeah, make sure you get around us on the socials at Keeper League Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, everywhere else. Stay tuned on the Twitter, because I've got a bit of a release coming out this week. Something else that's a bit fun for people to have a go at, and not footy related though. So don't get too excited. But yeah, you'll see it on my Twitter feed and probably on my TikTok account. Tommy, where can our listeners find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Tom M. Wyman, and that is it. I'm very inactive on there, so probably not even worth it.
I tag you in heaps of stuff and you don't even like it, man.
I do see it, but then I've got to get the notification.
It's all good, man.
But
I'm just messing with you. Anyways, thanks for coming on, and have a good off season. We'll probably get you in to talk rookies, draftees.
It should be a great draft. I'm actually very excited for that.
Sweet. We'll get you in later in the off season to have a talk about that.
Yep.
But anyways, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon. See ya.